Happy Die Hard Day and yippee-ki-yay!
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Damon Fairall. He is Kevin Thomas, and we are in lovely PHNX HQ2 in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Kevin, we got a jam-packed show for you folks at home today. We're talking a little bit of Koa Peat making the USA U19 team who didn't make it, as well as you mentioned off the top, Die Hard Day. We're doing what, the Diehards have tasked us to do today. Can't wait to see what we have in store for our Diehards on a beautiful Friday afternoon here, Kevin.
Yeah, sometimes you hand the keys over to your friend to drive your car, and you trust them enough to drive in the sense that they have a license. But do you trust them to get your nice car home safe? And when I opened up the chat in our Die Hard only Discord, and I said, "Hey, absolute Wildcat sickos," as Eric would say, and or psychos.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about whatever you guys want us to talk about today, because that is what, like you said, Friday of our Spirit Week is Die Hard Day. And if you're not a Die Hard, please join the best sports community in all of the state of Arizona, and specifically come hang out with some cool Wildcats in our Discord, right? So I posed the question of we're going to talk about whatever you guys are going to talk about, and that is what today's about. We're going to do that in the last segment, so the entire last segment is devoted to whatever our diehards wanted us to talk about. And I'll tell you right now, Damon, I'm not so excited to talk about a couple of those topics that they are forcing us to discuss.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie to you.
100%. Why don't we just get off one of them off the rip right away?
Should we do the one that I was referencing?
Yes,
okay.
Luke is a staple of our chat. He is a diehard in every sense of the word, Kevin, and he wanted to talk about something that was very close to your heart. He says, talk more about how the St. Louis Blues lost in the first round, please. Luke, notoriously a Chicago Blackhawks fan, big Chicago sports fan, and big rivals of your St. Louis Blues, Kevin. If you remember correctly, we were doing this show. The St. Louis Blues had their season end.
They did?
In the form of a goal that went in what? The final second of a game?
No, that'd be crazy.
Then to lose in overtime, I believe. Not a huge hockey guy, although I am a two-time reigning champion, me and my P's.
I don't know.
So, Kevin, would you care to speak on the St. Louis Blues?
Look, the St. Louis Blues, I think, are going to get a new logo here pretty soon. I'm serious. They posted that on their social medias today.
That was an insane way to start that off.
And I'm excited for the new logo. I think they're going to do a little bit of a throwback to the old style of Blue Note. I don't know if you guys have seen the famous, which one is it? One of the, was it Ozzy Osbourne? There was a famous rock star mugshot of him, of a rock star that has no business wearing a St. Louis Blues apparel in like the old style skinny Blue Note. And I think they're going to bring that back. So that's kind of how I feel, is that, season ended. All seasons end. Who cares? We got a new logo, and we're going to try again next year with Mitch Marner.
That was a very professional way of going about that, Kevin. But we all know that deep in your heart of hearts,
I'm heartbroken.
That still
1.6 seconds, 1.7 seconds.
You'll never get that feeling back in your life. Like, that's going to stick with you forever. You know it deep down.
Yeah. Now every time I microwave some food and it gets down to that 1 second, it feels like the longest second of my life. It no longer feels like a fast denomination of time.
Every second matters.
Yeah, it is now like time slows down when you see that 2 go to a 1 in the seconds, and you never know. That's why you got to play till the buzzer, Damon. I know it's a cliche, but yeah, that was heartbreaking. It didn't. It tried. The Blues tried really hard to ruin my staycation at Gila, if you remember that, but not even they could ruin the vibe. So. Yeah, Luke, that was for you, and we'll get to the rest of you diehards later with some fun questions in there as well. So
yeah, absolutely. One of the diehards who dropped in a great question is Russell here. Believe it's the same Russell, and we will be discussing Arizona football's schedule and giving, I think, an impromptu on the spot, Kevin. No research into it, just record prediction. Can we get caught for a frosty take
Probably.
down the line?
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Has Damon bought into the football program like he finds himself doing every single year, even though he ends up in pain and sadness? Probably. But yeah, we have a great show for you today, all things considered. We're going to be ranking our favorite Wildcats across campus. Why don't we do like 3 on campus, 3 off campus, like three in their professional sports, and we can go about that when we get to it. But Kevin, yeah, it is a beautiful Friday. Do you got anything planned for this weekend?
I believe I do. Tomorrow, Hawaiian barbecue, pool function. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a fun time. Little close get together with some friends, Damon included, potentially Noah included. Bo,
potentially Noah.
I mean, I don't know. He's a crazy guy. You never know what he's got going on.
What's he got better to do?
I don't know. Noah's the kind of guy that you have plans with him, and all of a sudden he's like hiking Mount Everest, and you're like, okay, you know what I mean? That makes total sense.
I went out of town.
Yeah, I'm out of town this weekend.
Where'd you go? Mount Everest.
Bo Brock tried to act offended that I didn't extend an invite, and then when I did,
the one guy at the company who doesn't show up to any of our events.
And when I did actually extend the invite, he goes, "Oh no, sorry, actually it's my one of my kids' birthdays. Can't go."
Classic Bo Brock move. Make you feel bad for something that he would never show up to in the first place.
But no. Overall, excited for the weekend, Damon. Do you have anything fun going on? I know it sucks that we don't really have like a ton of Arizona Wildcats sports to consistently watch this time of year. So how are you filling that time that is left a hole in your schedule?
Well, we do have Section 7 this weekend where a lot of Arizona recruits, prospects will be out in Mesa, Arizona. So I was planning on hitting that up and seeing what we could do content-wise out there, if there even isn't really an avenue for that, or if it's more of just let's get a look at these players and become more informed on this fine program. But I think I'm going to try to head out to that. But overall, main plan was hitting my boy Kevin's Hawaiian BBQ.
Hey man,
when you mentioned that to me, I wrote it in Sharpie down on my itinerary, brother. You know that I can't hold back from a little bit of Hawaiian barbecue.
One thing about Damon
is favorite food
is if you mention Hawaiian barbecue, Damon is there, and you don't got to tell him when, where. He'll just show up and wait until the function starts. So. Yeah, no, I'm excited for this weekend, Damon.
It's true. Kevin did kick me out of his house last night. I was like, has the barbecue started yet? And he was like,
we got 72 hours.
We do have quite a bit of time. Kevin, we probably should get into talking about a little bit of sports, because last time that we didn't talk sports for the first 10 minutes of our podcast, we were accused of having this platform to boost our coolness rather than, talk about Arizona sports. I will say, though, before we get into it, we are still doing our Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America donations right now. You can donate, just to the right of this video if you're watching on YouTube online, just under the video, I believe, if you're watching on your phone on YouTube. And if you're a podcast listener, you can go to bbbsa.org/ALLCITY, I believe, to donate. But yeah, we're still doing our donations right now for Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, trying to make some change here, some positive change here in the world. And Kevin, just if you can donate anything, goes such a long way. $1, $2, $5, $100,000, anything you got, it all adds up to what our goal is at the end of the day, which is doing something for society. And no super chats for the time being, just all donations, please. And we will highlight your super chat, your comment, if you will, if you want to throw a super chat in. But yeah, shout out Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and please help us donate if you can.
1000% well said, Damon. Like you said, we should probably get into some sports, some ball talk here, and we should probably start with Koa Peat, right?
Let's do it.
Koa Peat,
I'm always
in. Koa Peat, you could say, is a lock for the NBA, one and done next year, barring something completely unexpected, right? But just how high is Koa Peat's ceiling at the college level? We've discussed all the intangibles, all the actual on-court tangibles that Koa Peat possesses, but we haven't really tried to figure out just how far he could take this thing next year at Arizona, right? And what I wanted to do today is look back at the last 20 years of AP Naismith Player of the Year, whatever you want to call it, Player of the Year award winners, in this case AP for the source I'm looking at, and try to see if there's any sort of indication as to the type of players that do win or have been winning the Player of the Year recently, to see if Koa Peat has a good chance of actually, if he comes in and is everything we think of, could he win that award? Could he be Arizona's first AP Player of the Year in the long storied history of the program, which is kind of unbelievable, right? Like all the great players that have come through Arizona to never have had the best player by far, agreed by many pundits in the country. It's kind of crazy to me.
It is wild.
But yeah, that is kind of the main goal of this segment, is to see if Koa Peat realistically could be a Player of the Year candidate, Damon.
Yeah, it is. It's wild that like a Sean Elliott wasn't really like. I know he did bring home some major honors, and I'm trying to find exactly what those major honors are, because I was negative, 15 years old when he was winning these honors. But I know he was a first team All-American. He was two-time first team All-American, AP Player of the Year in 1989. So along the same lines, but not the Naismith Player of the Year award. And if I was to look up who won the Naismith that year, this is great podcasting.
It is great podcasting, Damon. Who
Danny
did?
Ferry.
Oh, Danny Ferry. Wow.
I mean, seems egregious.
It does, but I that was like an unlocked memory. I forgot about Danny Ferry there for a second.
Talk about Duke bias, brother. Oh, he plays for Duke. Why don't we give it to him?
Yeah, no. I mean, speaking of players that went to Duke and won the AP Player of the Year award, right? Cooper Flagg last year. So I guess we can start here. Cooper Flagg last year wins the AP Player of the Year. But I mean, honestly, I know people tried to make it into somewhat of a close race between him and Janai Broom, but in my opinion, anybody who was actually watching these games, there was no actual argument for Janai Broom to be the Player of the Year over a superstar talent, once in a college generation kind of talent. We don't know what he's going to be in the pros, but for the college ranks, once in a cycle kind of guy. He is the only freshman to win the award since 2019 when Zion did it. And the only non-upperclassman in between that is Obi Toppin in 2020, who was a sophomore. Outside of that, you have two-time Player of the Year award winner Zach Edey in 2024 and 2023.
Which is an insane accomplishment. That when I clicked on this link right now, Kevin, I was kind of shocked to see Zach Edey as two-time Naismith. I feel like that kind of got underplayed in a sense. I'm sure people that watch Big 12 basketball or Big 10 basketball are sitting here being like, oh, no, the hell it was not. We heard about it constantly all the time, every game. But from a national perspective, I feel like they kind of didn't hammer that as much as maybe it deserved, because being a two-time Naismith Player of the Year is an insane accomplishment.
It is.
How many people have done that? Like a handful?
No one in the last 20 years, certainly, outside of him. And then, you have Oscar Rios in 2022, Luka Garza in 2021. And honestly, Cooper Flagg kind of bucking the trend of like just elder statesman bigs that are just utilizing their size and experience to just dominate their opponents, right? You have Luka Garza, which is exactly what he did en route to being, I believe one of the up and down kind of, G League guys early in his career there. Oscar Rios, same kind of story. Zach Edey, however, like you said, two-time is a truly special achievement. And for him to be able to be doing what he's doing, I know he can't always stay as healthy as maybe you want him to stay, but I think he's performing a lot better in the NBA than most of his naysayers during his college time could have ever predicted. I think a lot of people, possibly including myself, assumed like this game's not going to really translate that well into the NBA. It's kind of predicated on being just bigger and burlier than everybody, which you're not going to be able to do against. I know he's bigger than most everybody, but not faster and not more athletic than everybody in the NBA. So for that, you're right. Zach Edey to do what he was doing, insane achievement. And when you look at like just I'll give you the number here, Damon. You have Trey Burke, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin, Andrew Bogut, Zion, Obi Toppin, and Cooper Flagg are the only players in the last 20 years that were not upperclassmen to win the Player of the Year award.
Andrew Bogut.
I know, huh? Isn't that was a throwback, huh? But
are you serious?
Yeah, the year before JJ Redick, and
at Utah,
correct, in 2005.
As a Utah sophomore. Players winning Naismiths. What the hell was their record?
In 2005, I don't know.
I need to know immediately.
Well, while you look that up, I will continue to go through, at least in the last 5 years since 2020, I think you could see a player like Koa Peat actually make a good run at the AP Player of the Year award next year if he is the player that we believe him to be. With the size that he possesses, with the athleticism that he also possesses, I see no reason as to why he could not crack into the early preseason, AP Player of the Year awards. Do you think that he might make some of those lists, the preseason award lists? I know that Arizona kind of gets slept on in that way, but do you think Koa Peat will make any preseason AP lists?
I think he'll absolutely make the preseason freshman All-American list. And I think that his performance this week goes a long way in making that happen, because the people that are, going to be voting on that, like seemingly like the Fran Fraschillas of the world, were out there watching it happen live. And that's going to be a big indicator, or a big reason that of like what goes into their final decisions on that. And I don't see how you could go into next season right now and be like, hey, Chris Senek Jr. is a freshman All-American first team preseason and Koa Peat's not, because one of them made the roster and the other didn't, right?
Yeah.
So like I think that you would have to have him as, one of the 5 highest regarded freshmen in the country, especially given like Tommy Lloyd's system. There's just no world where Koa Peat is not putting up statistics that are going to get him there. And yeah, I agree with you. Like we're up in arms. We grab our torches and our pitchforks and we go storm some sort of office when if Koa Peat is in fact not a first team preseason freshman All-American, because that would be egregious, Kevin.
It would be egregious. And some of these awards, when you look back at it, the names are truly a trip down memory lane, Damon. You have Jalen Brunson 2018, Frank Mason in 2017, Buddy Hield 2016. We're not going to mention 2015. 2014 was Doug McDermott. And then Jimmer Fredette 2011. Anthony Davis and Trey Burke went back-to-back as underclassmen in 2012, 2013 as well. You do see these kind of like random little clusters of elite one-and-done talent when you're going back through these lists.
Yeah.
And then you see like kind of a couple years where you just don't have that true number one generational freshman talent.
Totally.
I feel like Koa Peat really could be one of those kids. And I really do think Koa Peat could make a good run at AP Player of the Year next year. Just judging by some of the names and seasons that are on this list. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away, but I'm saying that when you look at, especially recently, I know early on this list, you have guys like Kevin Durant, JJ Redick, Blake Griffin, Anthony Davis, guys that had long, storied careers in both college and, well, not long for some of them, but storied careers and long careers in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
We think Koa Peat is, what? How many years you want to put? 10-year plus year NBA veteran
More
with
than
the
that.
skills. You know what I mean? Like conservatively saying, like he's playing 10 plus years in the league if he stays healthy and continues to develop his game the way we think he has, because the mindset is there, the desire is there. I truly think that preseason, if you don't think Koa Peat should be on a Player of the Year list, then I think you're crazy.
Yeah, I think as far as Arizona players go, he has the highest ceiling, so he therefore gets put at the top of our, what we would say our radar for who should be a candidate for that. And also it just seems like year after year, Tommy Lloyd is at least getting someone to around All-American status. So I don't think Arizona had one last year, but the year before Caleb Love was, the year before that, I believe Tabellis was. And then the year before that you had, why am I blanking? Ben Mathurin.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, so you had 3 players, I think, in a row that made All-American lists at Arizona, or made All-American teams, whether that be first or second team. I know last year a little bit of a step back, but I think we knew last year that, like, unless Caleb Love was going to start shooting better, no one else was going to make it. And last year's team didn't really have that upper echelon talent that maybe you expect to have at Arizona. But it was a culmination of a lot of really good players, and I think they played well to their identity. But they had to change their identity because it wasn't working for the beginning portion of the season. I would be shocked if there isn't a single All-American this year, and I think that Koa Peat is absolutely the guy that is that All-American for Arizona. But Kevin, I just because this is the type of thing that I love to do, so
go for it.
I'm gonna rip it. Danny Ferry no business over Sean Elliott.
Break it down.
Getting the Naismith Player of the Year. First off, let's just keep it as simple as this. A lot of times, obviously, you go to team success. No, you're like
Best player, best team.
In order to be a player that wins the Naismith Player of the Year, you know, like you have to be a guy that is playing for one of the elite teams of college basketball. Now, Duke was one of the elite teams of college basketball. They finished 9th in the final AP poll. They went 28-8. They went 9-5 in the ACC, and they finished in second place in their conference. Or I'm sorry, they probably went 9-5 in their non-conference, but I think that's probably why the parentheses are there. But they finished second place in the ACC. Arizona that season, Kevin, went 29-4, 17-1 in conference.
Sheesh.
And finished first in the final AP poll with Sean Elliott leading the charge. Sean Elliott that season averaged 22, 7 and 4. Danny Ferry averaged 22, 7 and 4. If racism?
You're crazy. I mean, Juneteenth was yesterday.
That's what I'm saying.
Someone call Sean DePaz. We might have a case for him to crack.
What was the reasoning? They had the exact same statistics. He played on a worse team. He played on not the best team in the entire country by every metric that they had.
I mean, I know this is not Southwest bias. I know this is not an Espo led show, even though this is GM Spo's show here. This is a tinfoil hat moment. You know what I mean? I'm letting you cook. Moment. And I'm letting you cook because I was gonna cue you up to say that. Damon, what possible reason could there be for someone to choose Danny Ferry over our guy? Because outside of what you already alluded to, shout out to Juneteenth, you know what I'm saying? What basketball reason, what basketball bias could you have? You know what I mean?
I again, like we're splitting hairs with their statistics, but I'd also venture to guess that Sean Elliott was a better defender than Danny Ferry, and that's entirely based off of me profiling Danny Ferry as a white man. But I'm just I honestly, that's not shocking to me whatsoever that happened, but it's so college basketball, right? And it's not the same as the Cooper Flagg Janiah Broome thing this year, because I think Cooper Flagg did deserve it if you watch the games with your eyes.
Noticeably better talent.
Yeah, but I think you could probably say the same for Sean Elliott. Like he's noticeably just a better basketball player. That's why he was an NBA All-Star. It's why he won a championship as the third best player on a team. Like I don't know. That sucks. He should. The fact that he won AP Player of the Year and didn't win that Naismith that year seems fishy. But also, I was looking at the Andrew Bogut side of things too, because that just seems baffling to me. Utah was in the Mountain West back then, obviously, and they finished first in the Mountain West, but they were 18th in the final AP poll. That seems like a crazy guy to win Naismith Player of the Year. Like, good for Andrew Bogut. 22 points and 12 boards in the Mountain West is cool, but that's Player of the Year status?
I'm assuming the argument for Bogut there is that I don't know the exact depth of that 2005 roster for Utah, but I would assume he's backpack carrying them to that ranking that year. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know ball. But I think that's probably the argument for him to be Player of the Year, right? Like, where would this team be without him?
No other NBA players on this list.
Yeah, so he was probably just raising the level of that team so unbelievably that I think maybe, I don't know, we'll have to look at some other candidates for that year. And while you do that, Damon, should we talk about some possible candidates for next year's Player of the Year award? We're talking about Koa Peat being a lock for this list, but who is actually on this list? And I thought this was very difficult. And for a moment, I would love to give a moment of respect to people like Gerald to our right, and just the writers across the nation that do all those way too early top 25s and way too early this, all these rankings.
Mm-hmm.
When I sat down and tried to compile a list of all the possible players that could really win the Naismith or AP Player of the Year award this year, it's a tough proposition because you're trying to figure out, okay, who's in the best situation, who's the best talent, who's projected to actually have the role and have the usage to be a Player of the Year. And in addition to that, you have to weigh the potential freshmen coming in with the guys that are guys like Yaxel Landeborg, who was pretty much a lock for the NBA until he decided to return to Michigan, or not return to, but transfer to Michigan and then actually fulfill that transfer and play there next year. And then you have guys like Darion Williams, who could play a massive role for NC State, and if they have any kind of success, kind of like what we were alluding to in a different way with Utah and Andrew Bogut. If Darion Williams can elevate that team back to where they were with, what was his name? The dude from NC State a couple years ago had a 2-letter name, first name, like it was like DJ something, maybe.
DJ
I don't know.
Horn?
No, it was a big boy.
Oh.
NFL scouts wanted him.
Yeah, DJ Burns.
DJ Burns, yes. If he could get them back to where they were at when they had DJ Burns, Big Fridge out there running around.
They weren't very good that year, though.
No, but they made it. They made it quite.
Yeah,
they
but
made quite a lot
college
of noise.
basketball. That's March Madness. They're going to be better than that this year.
No, yeah, and that's my point, though, is that if Darion Williams can help elevate that team, he could be a candidate for the award. You have guys like Rob Wright, high-profile transfer, maybe the highest profile of transfer possible, and we know that BYU team is going to be good next year. And then that's not even mentioning the freshmen on that team that I'll get to in a second. You also have, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but again, hear me out. You have Alex Condon coming back next year. And I know he's not the best player in the country, but Florida, if they can, return to form, continue form, I should say, next year, best player, best team, whoever replaces the usage of Walter Clayton the best, has a good shot at making a list as well. And the list kind of continues. JT Toppin, a conference player of the year. You're going to tell me a conference player of the year from last year that's returning, and Darion Williams is leaving that locker room, that he's not going to have more usage and improve next year?
Mm-hmm.
Braden Smith, upperclassman on a well-coached team that's going to be relevant in March.
That's the one.
And, I mean, when you look at the list of guys...
We will be placing our money on that.
Right? Like, it feels like that guy is a lock for a preseason list of player of the year. And then
he's the All-American point guard on every single preseason team.
Yeah. And the last possible returner or like upperclassman or some sort of that sort, I'll say, on my list is Donovan Dent. Again, another conference player of the year. This time he transfers to a much more high-profile program. And we'll see what his true level is and what he can do at UCLA. But yeah, those are the non-freshman candidates I had on my list. Do you think I'm missing anyone from the non-freshman category before we include freshmen here?
Honestly, not off the dome. I do think that a couple of these guys I feel comfortable being like they're not going to win Naismith Player of the Year. Like, as much as I'm a fan of Rob Wright and I talked about how important I think that transfer is for BYU, I don't think he has any shot really of winning a Naismith Player of the Year award. Darion Williams, I think, is a really good college player. I just think that his ceiling is almost too low to win a College Player of the Year award. Like, I think he's giving you 18 for NC State next year, but is that good enough to be Player of the Year? I don't really think so.
Like, where's the next step in his game?
I think JT Toppin and Braden Smith are definitely players that you gotta for sure lock in on where that kind of status. But at the same time, I do think that there's a lot of really talented freshmen this year. As you mentioned, like, that's not always the case every single year, but it feels like this year is a year where there's it could be a back-to-back Cooper Flagg, AJ DeBansta, like, put, number one pick guys winning back-to-back Naismiths here. And I certainly wouldn't be shocked by that. But yeah, it is certainly an interesting exercise here, Kevin. Donovan Dent, I just don't think UCLA will be good enough.
Valid. Very valid concern with that pick.
I would assume he'll put up decent statistics because they're kind of I feel like they're kind of like a slow it down sort of team almost. And so when you have like that one guy who's your scorer, if you will, like, that guy's going to get his. No one else probably is going to have really pretty statistics, but I bet you he is going to ISO it up in Mick Cronin's system and get a good amount of shot attempts per game. But Eric
Daly Jr. going to lead the conference in that. Remember when that guy was really highly regarded? And then it's just like, he's okay.
Yeah.
He's going to lead the league in those.
Totally. What about like Milos Uzan?
For this AP Player of the Year list?
Yeah, I mean, I know that he's a step below a lot of these guys from a statistical standpoint, but there's no more LJ Cryer there. Houston is obviously going to be one of the best teams in the country. He, I think, is the poster child, or I guess the main man, I guess, if you will, for that Houston team going into this season. Like, could you envision a world where Uzan gets himself to like 18, 19 points per game, and maybe Houston's just the best team in the country, and because of that, he's a candidate?
I'm really glad you brought this up, actually, because earlier I was kind of racking my brain thinking of, like I said earlier, trying to collect best player, best team contexts, right? That's how I landed on Alex Condon on my list. I don't really think he deserves to be on that list, with all due respect to his game. But I was looking at Houston and I'm thinking, I don't think it's Chris Sinak Jr. The brother didn't even make the USA team. And that's, again, not a dig to him, but we're trying to figure out where the level is here for these guys. And if Houston's going to have a player of the year candidate, I don't think it's Chris Sinak.
I don't think so.
It might be Milos Uzan.
Yeah.
Who else do you think could be in that race, specifically from Houston, to put their name in the hat for that team to represent it outside of Milos Uzan?
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe it is Chris Sinak Jr., but I don't think it's Emmanuel Sharp. Like, he's not that caliber of guy. Great player. But another player where it's like he is what he is. I feel like he's a 15 point per game guy, and that's what he's going to give you. And,
sharpshooter.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's going to be a huge like every team would want that guy on their team, but it's more just about like does he have that next level? And I don't think he does. Houston, I think, is going to be a very much of a team where it's like almost an equal share is going around, so it probably prohibits them from having a guy that is really that high of a candidate. But
very ethical hoop.
Yes, just the way that you were, I guess, just we were talking about like the top teams, and all of these players are all from these top teams. Like, it just, to me, I was like, I feel like we would be missing something if we didn't bring up Houston as a whole and just talk about who potentially from that team could be on that level, I guess.
Yeah, it was a great point to bring up, because like I said, I was racking my brain for that exact team earlier. I was thinking to myself, ain't no damn way Houston is not going to be a top 5 team next year if they perform the way we think they're going to perform. And that means that they are deserving of a player of the year type of conversation guy. Even if he's not in the actual short list at the end of the year, there's going to be a player that every national broadcast, when they're talking about Houston, they're going to be like, this guy, we're talking about him for player of the year. We saw it with Caleb Love last year, even though he was having an incredibly inconsistent down year from a shooting and scoring standpoint. People still were like, well, look at Arizona. Who's doing it? It's Caleb Love. He's the guy. And it's like, this is more economical than that. But I agree with you.
I do find it funny. Like, are we going to look back on this conversation? And it's just going to be someone that we did not mention whatsoever.
Duh.
Probably, right?
Yeah. It's gonna be. Let me pull up the Team USA roster here. I don't know, but I was gonna say it's gonna be one of the guys on Team USA that's not Koa Peat,
like Caleb Wilson or something.
Yeah. But it could be one of these freshmen that we have not yet alluded to on this list of possible candidates. Damon, Koa Peat, we talked about ad nauseum. No need to.
So I do have, actually, real quick. I did find on a sports book the Wooden Award watch list futures.
Okay.
And so just by looking at this, it's most of the guys that we named. I'll run down. I'll give us like our first 10 or so here. You got Braden Smith.
Check.
JT Toppin.
Check.
Yaxel Landenberg.
Check.
AJ DeBansta.
Check.
Now here's one we did not name. TKR. Trey Kaufman-Wren is 5th on this list.
Come on, son.
Darren Peterson comes right in after him at 6th. Darion Williams at 7th here, Kevin. So maybe they disagree with me a little bit in terms of how they view Darion Williams. Otega Owe from Kentucky.
Oh.
Solo Ball from UConn.
Real quick before you continue, UConn was actually another team I was thinking to myself, like, they're going to have a guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That just is going to – someone's got to score. And Solo Ball last year did emerge a little bit. And, but it just feels like UConn has a lot of question marks right now.
Totally.
Anyway, so
Donovan Dent comes in, tied with him. Then you have Boogie Flan, to your point, Kevin, about, a Florida player picking up the slack for Walter Clayton and whatnot. So Boogie Flan could be that guy for Florida, I think. You were on the right page. I
just forgot about the transfer.
It missed your brain, and honestly it would have mine as well. So, and then interestingly enough, Emmanuel Sharp to round that out here at I went to 12 here, but Emmanuel Sharp is the first Houston guy that they have on here above Milos Uzan, who, Manuel Sharp's at plus 3,000. Milos Uzan is at plus 4,000. Richie Saunders comes in on this list. You got Pettiford from Auburn. I mean, no respect for Koa Peat here.
That's crazy that we're reaching Richie Saunders before Koa Peat.
Keyshawn Hall.
I can't get over the Richie Saunders.
Fletcher Lawyer.
Tameen
Lipsy.
Lipsy's cool, but like not. Come on,
he's nowhere near as
what
good
are we doing?
as
what
this,
are we doing?
As the level we're talking about here. Actually, Jaden Bradley is above Koa Peat on this list. Jaden Bradley's at plus 10,000. Dude, I think we might need to put some money on. I'm actually
if we can find the line. If they even offer Koa Peat.
They're actually not offering Koa Peat right now.
This is crazy. He could win the whole damn thing.
Elijah Arenas is on here. Chris Sinek Jr. Braden Burries made the list. Pop Isaacs is on here. Xavier Lee's not bad value at plus 20,000.
Timeout. We need a full timeout. Both shoulder taps here. Because
Caleb Wilson.
You're telling me Koa Peat, if we continue this list and if he's even listed, would be the third Wildcat. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes. Andrei Stojakovic made the list. I'm based off of what I'm seeing right now, Kevin, I'm thinking that Koa Peat is not going to be high. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to be one of the higher people on this list.
I'm sick to my stomach.
But part of me is thinking that because of his performance this week, that they pulled him because they were like, we don't know how to value this guy. Because why else would he not be on this list when Braden Burries is on this list? That doesn't make any sense.
We got Fletcher Lawyer.
If anything, those guys should be right next to each other at the exact same value, at the very least.
Correct.
And I think most Arizona fans would tell you Koa Peat is probably has a little bit of higher expectations. We'll be monitoring that. The guys that he is in the same class of, from a freshman standpoint, in our opinion, are, in the top 10 here. I think Braden Smith takes it home this year, so I'll be dabbling on Braden Smith, but I'm also throwing on, just looking at that, I go Braden Smith, who's number one and probably the best odds to win it, but you got to get on it early and you can get good value. Braden Smith, who I know is going to have an insane year floor-wise. He plays in a crap conference. He has a bunch of players around him. Like, Purdue's going to coast to the Big Ten.
Apparently, they have two top 10 Player of the Year candidates in Trey Kaufman, Ren, and him. So that's crazy. But yeah, continue.
And then I believe you throw on Koa Peat, whatever that value is, and I throw on Xavier Lee a little bit.
Oh!
I don't know why.
Whoa!
To your Florida point, I think him being plus 20,000 is when there's so many shots to have in that Florida system is enticing to an extent. Walter Clayton Jr. is first team All-American, top 5 Naismith candidate last year. So, it's possible. Boogie Flan had an injury last year. Could he get hurt again?
Good
then
point.
There's even more shots for Xavier Lee.
Because I was going to say, you got to call the hotline if you're picking Xavier Lee over Boogie Flan. You got to call the hotline. Right? I don't know if I'm wrong. Again, Wendy's, come calling me. Wendy, call me, girl, because if this is a frosty cold take, I'll be happy to put my hand up and say that, hey, Damon, you were so wise, and so you were an oracle of the game of basketball to know that Boogie Flan was going to be the more inferior player to Xavier Lee this season. But I thought that was bold of you to come out and say. But Boogie Flan's listed. He's on there.
Tucker DeVries just getting a million shots up at Indiana.
We've lost the plot. I will say I had a couple of thoughts. One of which I did lose. Oh no, I didn't. I had a couple of thoughts on that list that you just gave of odds. It sounded to me like we did a damn good job of compiling the potential preseason list. We pretty much had all the names that didn't sound crazy on there.
Totally.
Fletcher Lawyer, Richie Saunders. What are we doing? Yeah, true. I'm just not a big Trey Kaufman Ren guy.
You hate him.
I don't hate him.
Yeah.
I actually don't hate him. I don't really.
Every time I've heard him come up in a conversation, you've been like, this guy.
Not even. I just feel like maybe I gotta learn more Trey Kaufman Ren ball. Maybe I gotta really dive into his game. How
hard is it to put up good stats when you have Braden Smith basically putting the ball in the basket for you?
And then Again, I haven't looked up his stats in so long, but I'd have to go back. I just feel like he shrinks in big moments too. Maybe I'm just remembering a couple moments, and it's kind of doing that thing where you just remember the bad things and none of the good things.
He averaged 20 last year. But
See?
again,
But
like
someone's got to score the ball from Braden Smith.
I was about to say again, like he's practically having the ball placed in the basket for him on multiple occasions by Braden Smith. Like they're routine layups. I would hope he'd make him.
It's the J-Dub highlight from the finals when he dropped 40 on all like open drives to the basket.
Yeah.
It's a great offense. I'm not knocking the hustle though. And then my second thought on it, Damon, was did you not, and maybe I didn't hear it, but did you not mention Cameron Boozer? Was he not on that list?
I don't think I did. Maybe that's kind of where they're sitting with Koa Peat as well, where it's just like we don't know how to evaluate this prospect necessarily in terms of pinning him up against the other players you can bet on. So maybe they're waiting to put Koa Peat and Cameron Boozer in there because I did not say Cameron Boozer.
Yeah, because wrapping up the conversation on the short list I created pre-show, the freshman candidates I had were Koa Peat, AJ DeBanza for obvious reasons, who, if you check 24/7's rankings, has been updated back to the number one player in the nation for those that care about that kind of thing.
DeBanza has?
Yes.
Remember when they released final rankings and then they change them all the time?
Those things are so, man, yeah. It's like the UFC rankings.
As long as we're on the topic, can we move Koa Peat back up to where he was?
I mean, I just call Koa Peat a top 10. I just call him a top 10 recruit because like he is. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like watch the guy hoop. I don't care if if he's 11. Ball. Are you really going to be like he's not top 10? He's actually 11.
Open your eyes.
And then also Michael Brown Jr.
Actually, in the 24/7 rankings, they're still the same. So maybe 24/7 released their final, and then the composite is still updating because
I did check the composite.
Other organizations and outlets are still updating theirs on their end. So you still have Darren Peterson number 1 and AJ DeBanza number 2 on that one. Which I gotta be honest, man. The more I look at that, that's crazy. I feel like AJ DeBanza is a monster. We've kind of lost the plot a little bit, I think.
We have lost the plot. Back to the list.
I didn't mean us, but yes, that too.
But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Koa Peat, AJ DeBanza, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, Michael Brown Jr. are the freshman guys. I think that if you're making a short list of players that could really make a run for Player of the Year from the freshman ranks, I feel like you're looking at those 5 guys. Cameron Boozer filling in for that Cooper Flag role at Duke on a loaded Duke roster next year.
Michael Brown though, he's
a really good player.
I just don't. I don't believe in Louisville.
The only reason he's going to Louisville is because he's from Louisville. You know what I mean? Like that is a guy. All right, fine. I mean, I'm not gonna die on the Louisville hill. Not by any means. But I do think like that's the kind of
they were better
like we were saying to the point of Utah earlier. If you can take a team that has like mid expectations from the national perspective to maybe good expectations, and you can consistently have that team playing at a high level, you're going to get a bump, especially if you're a freshman like him.
True.
So that's why he did crack my list, although I don't think Louisville is like one of the best teams in the nation by any means. And yeah, I did a damn good job is what I learned through those betting rankings, though. That's all I learned. Pat myself on the back.
You absolutely did, Kevin. That was solid work from you. I think, it'll be really interesting to see when Koa Peat gets his future line put in here. And we will keep you updated with whenever that happens, because I promise you I will be scouring every day.
We will be the first 2 to place bets on that line when it drops.
This is true. This is very true. This podcast definitely believes in Koa Peat. We believe in our diehards for helping put this show together, Kevin. We got to get into a little bit more diehard stuff, but first we're going to hit the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
It's break time, Damon. You know what that means. We are talking Empire Flooring. Damon is sitting on Empire Flooring. I am mere feet away from the greatness that is Empire Flooring. If you want reliable, dare I say stylish, dare I say durable flooring, you go to Empire today. Because if you go to just a random box store, their goal is to get you in, get you out, get your money, and send you home. Not really caring about the fit in your home. Empire today, you go to them because they are flooring experts. They're flooring lifers. You hear that about basketball coaches, some of the greatest ever? Yeah, they're just basketball lifers. They eat, sleep, breathe flooring over at Empire today. And that's the kind of company you want to work with when you're making such a big decision for your home, because home court advantage is a real thing, right? So like I said, check out Empire today because you can pick the right flooring and right colors for your space. See how it looks with your, your feng shui, your decor going on in there. And also, it's just more convenient that way. You don't got to be sweating in the store worrying about it. So today, schedule a free home estimate because some things are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount off of new floors. $350 off of new floors with our friends over at Empire Today when you use promo code PHNX at EmpireToday/PHNX for full details, if you will.
Kevin, I need to start learning my lesson when it comes to making bets with people around here because people are just not paying up. I got Kevin owing me a heart in his hair. I got the ASU crew owing me, putting on
owing us now.
Yeah, owing us, putting on an Arizona Wildcats shirt after we beat them in our charitable donations challenge. Here's where I should have used Vimeie because Vimeie is the brand new app that it's an entirely new concept. It's where you can go challenge your friends regarding anything in life. So whether, you can make someone be the judge of said contest, and it takes away the process of people not paying up because it stamps it. It puts it right there in front of your face and says, hey, this guy owes you what the end of your bet that you guys made together. And, frankly, people have been squirming out of the bets that I've been making with them recently. So head on over to Vimeie, download the app. It's a brand new concept, but we're having a lot of fun with it over here at PHNX Sports. All of us are signed up. We're challenging each other. I know Eric Ruby has been doing a bunch of NBA Finals type of bets with Diehards and with all of us here at all the crew alike. But it's the first one of its kind person-to-person betting app. You take away, the idea of like, hey, well, 3 years from now, our bet will settle. No, you put it into the ether, and Vimeie holds on to that money, their end of the bet that your opponent placed for the entire time. So head on over to Vimeie, download that app, try out the brand new concept with you and your friends, whether it's chugging a beer or, playing a game of 2K. Vimeie is just tons of fun. So download the Vimeie app, play today, use code PHNX, available on the App Store and Google Play Store. Vimeie, anyone, anything, anytime, Kevin. And I feel like a big, dumb, stupid idiot after you, didn't pay up on your bet. And I've been talking it up, being like, I should have used Vimeie. And then what did I turn around and not do? Make these bastards use Vimeie when instead they're just not going to pay up on their end of the bet. Makes me sick.
It's pretty sickening. We made that bet with the ASU guys
for charity.
Literally, I was about to say, for the sake of a great cause. And what do? Not pick up their slack. Not do their dishes, not do their chores like they're supposed to. And now we're upset. So what are they going to do? They're going to wear that damn Arizona shirt, and they're going to wear it with pride, with honor.
I think this is partly on us to an extent, Kevin, because I believe we probably have to bring in the merch. It's not like Eric Ruby and Anthony Totri have in Shane Diefenbach just have U of A stuff just sitting in their closet.
In our defense, I brought in 3 items of Arizona merchandise for that Circle K studio: a baseball jersey, a football jersey, and a basketball jersey, I believe. All 3 would be a size that they should all be able to fit, especially Totri. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's no excuse.
You know what? That's a damn good point, Kevin, and we'll see what we can do after this podcast. But yeah, it is. It makes me sick that people are just trying to skate by out of these challenges that we've made each other, because damn well, if I had lost said challenge,
paying up,
they would have had a shirt for me the
next day.
The second the show ended, they would have been like, here, Damon, here, put this on. We're putting it on the PHNX Sports main Twitter account.
Yikes!
You know what I mean?
Oof.
Oh, look at this. Damon's wearing a Sun Devils shirt. Guys, isn't this so funny? Meanwhile, you guys losing, what do? Crickets.
Yeah.
No one cares.
That's okay.
Yeah, it is what it is. Sad.
Yeah.
That's on me for not using Vimeie.
Yeah, it is on you for not using Vimeie. But now you know.
To be fair, the terms were within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
That was the term. If you watch the show back.
Okay.
So yeah, but if you made a bet with Vimeie, you could have set the parameters more clearly, and it would have been nearly as vague.
There'd be no confusion.
It wouldn't have been nearly as vague. It all would have been lined up.
Zero confusion.
See, honestly, this was unintentionally a great example of why Vimeie is awesome. Because here we are being like, yeah, we would have paid up here at this time, and Shane's over here like, well, you said it was any time in the next couple of weeks. And now we have this back and forth that I'm sure is going to last a couple of weeks, with them being like, oh, we'll do it tomorrow, and we have a show today that we can't do it on. And then all of a sudden, we just should have used Vimeie. But you know what's not frustrating, Damon? our wonderful diehards in our diehard only Discord that you need to become a diehard to join so that you can get Damon's unfiltered, unlimited, unhinged takes, my daily
Stuff that's behind
how
the
are
paywall,
yous.
stuff that I can't let fly on the old Twitter account.
This is all the advertisement you need to become a diehard and join the Discord. Damon's watching the Diamondbacks game. I know this is not the Diamondbacks podcast, and he's just watching the game. I won't say what happened or who did what, and he just goes, I think I got to go into the Discord and let some takes off. It's just a little bit of group therapy with some of your closest friends in Arizona sports family. You know what I mean? We all love the sports in this state, so why not come and be a community of sports fans with us? But the ones that already are in the club, you know what I mean? They get to control this entire last segment, Damon. We have no control.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting into that last segment, well, first off, I feel like we'd be remiss. We should put up a this tweet first. I want to talk about Oscar Rios for a half
good
second.
point. Great point.
Oscar Rios is a quarterback, 4-star quarterback, borderline top 10 quarterback in his class. Very, very high level recruit. Would be a massive get for the Arizona Wildcats. According to this tweet here from at UCLA Rivals, which is going to be the Rivals faction that covers UCLA, says that Oscar Rios had both UCLA and Arizona wristbands on while competing at the Elite 11 finals this week, which of course is, only offered to the best quarterbacks in the country. He told Tracy McDonald yesterday, things are 50-50 between the schools ahead of next Friday's decision. 50-50. And so I think that I wonder how true that is. I wonder if that's really like the case, Kevin, if he's truly undecided or this close to being undecided, a week out from his commitment date, which would be certainly interesting. But at the same time, I think that it just goes to show that Arizona is very much involved in this. There's clearly a shot for Arizona to land Oscar Rios here, and it would be a massive pull for Brent Brennan and co. And just in terms of establishing the future a little bit and being like, hey, this is probably the guy that Noah Fafita is going to be passing the baton to if things work out the way that we want it to this season and so on and so forth. But yeah, definitely, seems like it's up in the air still, according to Oscar Rios' words. And yeah, hopefully Arizona is able to land him.
Yeah, hopefully, because you do need a succession plan for when Noah Fafita eventually is no longer your starting quarterback at the University of Arizona. And you don't want there to be this searching period or maybe a holdover year or two where you don't have that guy. I know the portal is a beautiful thing now for that sort of thing, but you don't want to be relying on the portal for your quarterback necessarily. We see how that can work out for some teams across the country who, have to wait until the very last day of some sort of deadline to figure out who their quarterback is going to be. You don't want to have to play in your team late because you don't know who your quarterback is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We know Seth Dagey is a guy who likes to mold his offense to what he has, and not giving him a quarterback to work with, I feel like would be a recipe for disaster. So I do think that getting Oscar Rios would be a huge coup for the University of Arizona football staff to have that next guy, if he is as good as his rating and this invite to this camp says that he is. It'd be a huge deal for Arizona, in my opinion. I know I've been making the jokes about us being the school of 3 stars now, but this I think this would actually set Arizona on a different course, a much more high-star course.
Well, as we talked about yesterday, I believe, when we were talking about Oscar Rios, it's just quarterback is the type of position that you get in a class that galvanizes other people to want to commit to the school, because they're frankly just the leader of the team, and they're going to be the face of the program moving forward. So if Oscar Rios is as good as, what he seems to be, is, somewhat the rising prospect that he's become recently, it feels like, this could be the beginning of landing, even better players in this to round out this 2026 class. Because you look at the Arizona football class that Jed Fish brought in that had all those Servite guys in it. It started with some of the lower rated prospects in that class. And not to say that these guys weren't great players. Like, you get Tacario Davis, for example, as a, kind of a mid-tier 3-star that not a lot of teams were like super amped about getting, right? And he becomes an NFL prospect. But at the same time, it wasn't until Noah Fafita got brought in and then he started, trying to get his friends and people that he knows to commit to Arizona that the class truly became special. And that's kind of what you're looking at here. I think that, in an ideal world, Oscar Rios kind of gets more and more Arizona prospects to want to commit to the school because they feel like this is a place where they can go win football games because look at who they have under center. And so, yeah, it can't be understated how big this potentially could be for Arizona's class next season. But yeah, that was our update on Oscar Rios. We obviously had the Team USA final rosters revealed as well. We touched on it a little bit, but we didn't put our graphic on screen here. And when I say our graphic, I mean the Team USA graphic. But yeah, you can see here a lot of really good players made this list. Some notable, players that did not make it. Chris Sinek Jr. Sucks to be a Houston fan. Imagine that's your top recruit. Couldn't be us. But yeah, you have really good players. Michael Brown Jr., Kevin's favorite player. AJ DeBansta. You got Caleb Holtz, who we talked about a little bit. Daniel Jacobson, Jasper Johnson, Morez Johnson Jr., Nick Kamenia.
I think it's Kamenia, yeah.
Kamenia. JJ Mandequit, which is kind of an interesting name.
Sick name.
Yeah, Brandon McCoy Jr., who Arizona hopefully lands in the next class. Koa Peat, of course, who we talk about all the time, all day. Jordan Smith Jr., and then Tyrone Stokes. So, yeah, that is your Tommy Lloyd roster for the 2025 USA Men's U19 national team. And that is who Koa Peat will be going to war with for this nation.
You just hope that he can persuade Brandon McCoy throughout all this time to lock up that recruitment as early as humanly possible, and don't talk to anybody else because you want to be a Wildcat, right? You want to.
Well, that's the other part of this is and we talked about that. Like Tommy Lloyd gets to get a head start in terms of his commitment or his recruitment of a guy like Brandon McCoy because he gets to coach him, and that's not necessarily the case with the other teams that are recruiting Brandon McCoy. If I go look at Brandon McCoy's list here on 24/7 Sports, you got Duke, Alabama, Arkansas. I'm not even going to mention that school that happens to be in the city that we're in right now because that's insane.
Yeah.
Baylor, BYU, Kansas, Kentucky. I mean, it's all the schools, right? But it's. I feel like not everybody on that list, unless Tommy picked them to be one of his assistants, is even getting a good look or a good firsthand time coaching Brandon McCoy. And we've talked about Tommy Lloyd being such a likable coach, being such an easy coach to play for. I find it shocking if it wouldn't do anything but improve Arizona's chances in terms of landing a guy like the number 2 prospect in his class in Brandon McCoy.
1,000%. We spoke about it not only on last show, but also to Reggie Geary. And ironically, it also helps Grant McCaslin in your own damn conference too, because he's sitting there right next to Tommy Lloyd. And if you're not really fitting with Tommy Lloyd's style, maybe you'll fit with Grant McCaslin's. And so I feel like, Micah Shrewsbury, that's kind of a harmless guy to have on your staff if you're Tommy Lloyd. I'm using air quotes for harmless because they're not really trying to snake each other.
He's not gonna hurt
you know what I
anybody.
mean? Yeah, they're not trying to snake each other at the Team USA coaching room there. But like if Micah Shrewsbury is able to recruit some of the guys off of Team USA in a hypothetical world, that's not the end of the world for Tommy Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
But like, let's say in a hypothetical world, Grant McCaslin was able to snag like a Brandon McCoy Jr. and Arizona was in that top 3, and you know what I mean? Then you're like, damn. You know what I mean? Like that could have been Tommy. But yeah, just kind of the other side of the same coin. I thought that'd be funny to bring up in that way.
I find it interesting that a couple of the guys who like make this team here, Kevin, are more so the like players in the upcoming class. I guess I should say the 2026 class are like not players necessarily that Tommy is recruiting super hard. So like Caleb Holt, for example, we talked about him the other day. Like he's kind of probably leaning towards like an SEC school or a Texas school. Tyrone Stokes doesn't seem like somebody that Arizona is really pursuing very heavily. Like other than Brandon McCoy, when you look at this next class, it's not really the guys that Tommy is going after necessarily, which I find interesting. And I guess just goes to show that at the end of the day, it's about, who's qualified to be on this roster, not playing favorites and helping Arizona basketball recruit. But it doesn't hurt Arizona basketball recruiting. That's for damn sure. We are going to be heading into overtime to finish this guy out on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Indeed, Kevin. But as we finish this Die Hard day up, we had a couple topics from our Diehards that we needed to hit on. Kevin, why don't you pick one and throw one at us here?
Let's go with Devon All. known actual Iowa State Cyclone fan.
Yeah, definitely.
But just loves ball so much. You know what I mean? Says, talk about your away game to Iowa State, 1. And then 2, talk about Wrexham.
Yes, of course. Devenol, part of Wrexham Nation. I think when I speak on this, I like to Americanize it as much as possible. So like something like Wrexham Nation is like that's where we need to be, right? So obviously, when you think about Wrexham Nation, you think Max Simpson, Owen Evans, Reese Goodall, Devenol, me, Kevin, all the Bo Brock, Derek Montiel, all the squad in the office. We're obviously massive Wrexham fans, and Wrexham gets promoted again this year. They're going up to the 2nd division. They're going up to the EFL Championship. They will be 1 division away from potentially being in the Premier League. Big news for our guy Robin Ryan over there at Wrexham. The owners of Wrexham.
Bring
Ryan
on
Reynolds.
Deadpool
Yeah,
and Rob McElhenney. I watched the show last night.
Wow.
I was doing homework because of this question.
Wow.
Yeah, I hadn't
And
watched.
are you locked?
Oh, dude, yeah, super locked.
It's Wrexham over everything.
Well, not necessarily from a club support standpoint, but the show is really good. I like the show. It's a little too like much filler. You know what I mean? I
It
want
is.
more. I want more of like them actually owning the club, and like the community stuff is awesome. But like, I don't really necessarily need full episodes on like random pub goers in Wales. You know what I mean?
But I need you to amend a thing that you just said right now.
What I say?
You are locked in on the club because you work here, and that's what we are all Wrexham.
Yeah, sure.
We are Wrexham Nation.
Yeah, Wrexham.
And so yeah, Wrexham, unbelievable season again, and
Super Paul Mullins.
hopefully
We got
another
Paul
promotion
Mullins.
here.
He's
But
unbelievable.
I believe this is actually the year where Wrexham does not get promoted again. But I will say that they are going to spend a lot of transfer money right now. I think we get solidly that upper part of the table in this league, and then the year after that, we go for the kill. We go for promotion. We go for the 1st division. And that's Wrexham talk on the AZ Wildcats podcast. His other question was about the Iowa State
Iowa
game.
State away game.
He didn't want to talk about the other Iowa State game that he was actually at, which I know for a fact. Devenol and his dad went down to Tucson to go watch their Cyclones and to watch Caleb Love pull off the shot of the year.
Oh,
So I find it interesting that he didn't want us to talk about that aspect. I wonder why.
maybe he wanted us to talk about the away game after that, where Arizona got whooped in Ames. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying. I thought that maybe he wanted us to say that.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's okay. I'm happy to sound crazy. Maybe it never happened. Maybe I imagined it.
That didn't happen. Arizona lost by 17 in that one. And Iowa State kind of put it on us, but what can you do? You can't win them all. That was probably the worst game of the entire season once non-conference was over. Once you got into conference play, that was, I feel like, the least competitive game that they played. And the rest of them you were at least in. Like the Kansas State game was tough to watch.
Yeah, that was probably their worst actual form, probably since after non-conference.
But losing by 17 is that was a gut punch.
Mhm.
Like you were never in that game from the jump, and it showed. So yeah, 1-1 in the new era of the Big 12 against Iowa State, and next year means everything because there's only one matchup next year against Iowa State. So
The Devenol Bowl.
it is the Devenol Bowl. But moving on, Kevin, into another diehard discussion topic here. Ranking our favorite Wildcats across all sports. And as I said earlier on the show, let's do 3 on campus, 3 that are in their professional ranks, or maybe just left Arizona, for example.
Okay. I will give my 3 former Wildcats right now first, and then I'll go current after that. Maybe it's recency bias. I don't think that it is. TJ McConnell.
Yeah.
Bang. Right.
That's one.
I'm a little bit of a younger lad. So Rob Gronkowski in that top 3. It's just sick. The fact that Gronk went to U of A. He's
Mhm.
such a cool guy.
Mhm.
Such a cool school. It's just a match made in heaven. And then I'm going to give Richard Jefferson in another spot in my top 3 because just how hard he reps Arizona on such
Yeah.
a national stage. And not only does he rep
Last
his
night.
school, he goes to war for his school on social media.
Yeah.
Like in stuff that doesn't necessarily even involve Arizona directly. He will hop in and be like, hey, just so y'all remember, this has something to do with the Wildcats, and I will remind you of that at every point I can. So
RJ has a little bit of hate to him, which
yeah,
I
real
respect
petty.
the hell out of.
Super petty.
Because that's a me thing. And that's the wavelength that I'm on.
Yeah.
And so like when he gets like in his bag of like talking about Duke and ASU and whatnot, I'm like
Bobby Hurley.
That speaks to me a little bit as
Nick
an
Cronin.
Arizona fan. Like we need a little bit more of that. I like that list. I think I'm also gonna go TJ. And yeah, he's hot right now for sure. But TJ is the man. Kiss the court, like goat. And just like the career he's carved out for himself is just incredible. Getting TJ McConnell chance in the finals, it's insane, man.
It is unbelievable.
It's so crazy, and it's so cool to see for a guy like that. Man, so this is like it's tough because like I want to say like, you know, like do I go to the players that I was a biggest fan of when I was growing up, like. Do I go to people that happened a little bit more recently? It's weird. Like it'd be weird for me to kind of be like T-Mac when I'm older than T-Mac, but I almost want to because I love that guy.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. But also like it's got me thinking like Kadeem Carey, like that dude, I would have taken a bullet for that dude back in the day.
Good point.
You know, or like
your guy Khalil Tate.
Yeah, Khalil Tate, dude. I loved Khalil Tate. I went to war for Khalil Tate, and I think I lost that war. But,
yeah, you did.
Nick Foles, obviously. You mentioned Gronk as a really good one.
Obscure niche, like a little bit of a pull here. Chase Budinger for his contributions in dual sports post his time at Arizona.
Yeah, very cool player. I think I got to go D-Will. Friend of the program, Derek Williams.
Great pull.
I got to go D-Will. Just the highs I experienced with Derek Williams will almost never be beaten. And so I'm going TJ McConnell, D-Will, and in the spirit of keeping things right now, I'll go T-Mac.
Okay.
Because and I'll put him above the other U of A players, but it's almost a wash at like T-Mac, Gronk, Nick Foles, Khalil Tate, like Kadeem Carey. Those are all kind of in the same neck of the woods for me of caliber of how much I love those guys, but I'll keep it recent and go T-Mac. On campus, Kevin, and you had a little bit of time to think about this one since I was very long-winded.
Indeed. On campus, I feel like Koa Peat is in that top 3. Honestly. I think I'm just so excited about him being on my basketball team that he's in my top 3.
Aura.
So much aura. Man. Does Smith Bailey count?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why wouldn't it?
Because I'm scared about that baseball situation right now.
That's fair. Did you see what Tony Pluta's dad tweeted, though?
I did not.
He said something, and let me find it so I can quote him exactly, but he said something to the effect of that the guy that they're going to be bringing in next year is like, as long as he was there, you know, Tony wasn't going anywhere.
Okay.
So, and do you remember his dad's name?
Isn't it like Joe? Or something like that?
That was the first account that came up. Yeah, it does look like it's Joe. Let me find it here.
But actually, can I amend my list and put Tony Pluta instead of Smith Bailey?
Yes.
Smith Bailey is just but a baby freshman. And while he does shove, Tony Pluta is the all-time save leader.
Mm-hmm.
Stopper of the year. Don't actually know what I was thinking. It would have been Mason White if he still technically was on campus. But yeah, I think I have Koa Peat, Tony Pluta. I wish I could have said Devin Netz, but she is now a Bandit. This third one is making it tough, Damon. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. This third one is really stumping me. Because the options, I feel like you got to say Noah Fafita, right?
Yeah, I mean, Fafita's for as far as me, he's cleared far and away.
No, I'm kidding. No, he's number one. Like, he's number one. Yeah, I was kidding. That was in jest. But
okay.
Yeah.
My bad. My sarcasm.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure
was
no one in the chat thought I
terrible.
actually forgot that Noah Fafita was on campus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So obviously, this was the tweet I was referencing. I think Kendall Rogers tweeted that John DeRuin will be the pitching coach. Joe Pluta said Tony thinks the world of him, and then said, but then he did add this: if Tony decides to return for his senior year, I think he'd do well working with Coach DeRuin.
I don't worry about that if too much. He's just not trying to close any potential avenues for his son. I get it.
Hopefully he gets drafted.
Yeah,
which I know I've poo-pooed a little bit, but like that is the goal ultimately.
Yeah.
If he gets drafted, he should go for it. But I think he'll be back next season. He also said, the best I can tell you is that nothing is certain right now. We're just trying to take in the incredible year. Any thought of next year is premature. All I can say personally is that Coach Darun is absolutely the right person to take the job. So
overall, a very great tweet to get, because I feel like you're just trying to keep your child's avenues open by one, not being like he's for sure returning to Arizona if he doesn't go to the draft, and number two being like he's not going to the draft. You know what I mean? So I think that
Seemed
if
like a
was
great
very
family.
necessary. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going. I mean, it's got to be Fafita. Has to be. What were your other? What were other?
I had
options?
Fafita, Pete, and Pluta. We were just literally talking about that. Our whole
No Michaela
conversation was
Purdue
just
for
about
you.
Pluta. Huh?
No Michaela Purdue for you.
I love Mickey. But she hasn't played a single minute yet.
Yeah, but I feel like we're.
But I guess neither is Koa Peat, right? So what am I talking about?
We're on that track though.
Yeah.
Does
Becky Burke count? In genuine, I'll bump Koa Peat. Like in all genuine seriousness, does Becky Burke
Dude,
count?
that Becky Burke video of her working out was unbelievable. Right? I'll tell you what, my content brain started spinning immediately, and I was like, "Do Kevin and I need to get down there and do a workout with Coach Burke?"
I would do that so fast.
Like it's just like it's just the next shot, and it's just me and you in the bushes,
being dragged out by our arms, just like.
just audibly, but you can't see us.
She's just screaming at us. That's just the weakness leaving your body. Let's get back at it.
Yeah. I think that would be so much fun. Maybe we should try to see if we can get something in the works there. But yeah, I'm going. It's hard, right? Because like the baseball team just finished, so did they not count because they're technically no longer going to play for us anymore?
That's what I was saying. Like
I
Mason
want to
White,
put like Mason White in there.
Yeah, that's why I didn't exclude. That's why I didn't include him, or I didn't even think about Devin Nets in the equation because, like I said, she just graduated and just. But like, has the athletic year fully ended? Are we calling it? Like, you know.
What's sad is I probably would have put my guy Henry Vasar in there, and he just.
I might have put KJ Lewis in there.
He just had to just stab us in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably would have done KJ Lewis.
Yeah, I probably would have done. Also, if Caleb Love was if he had that magical 10th year of eligibility, I think you know, that's 1-1, Fafita 1-2.
St. Louis, baby.
Yeah, that surpasses all. If Courtney Ramey was around, he's number 1 for sure.
That's crazy. Damn. All right. So I'm trying to think. So obviously I have my one with Fafita. That one's the easiest one of all time. Past that, it does get a lot tougher for me, at least.
Yeah, you're going super preferential after Fafita
because there's been so much roster change up and down between, you know, what happened at the end of football season with this baseball team. A lot of their better players out the door. I'm gonna count Mason White just because I'm struggling, so I'm going Mason White too. And then number 3, we got Genesis Smith.
Ooh, friend of the program.
Friend of the program, absolutely.
Chris Hunter. Him and I bonded over beignets. I feel like I might have made a mistake there. Maybe I'm not going to get beignets anymore. Who knows?
Very, very true. Very true. Luke Wysong.
Seth Dagey exists.
I mean, if I could pick Seth Dagey, he would have been number 1 without a doubt on my list. Everyone knows that. It's not even close. Man. I think you gotta start leaning basketball a little bit. I think just because there's a little bit more of guys that have been in the building and that have kind of been around the program, right? Evan Nelson. I mean, I always rep my high school guys. Do I just go Noah and then just round it out with 2 Sal Point guys? Just go Mason White and Evan Nelson and just call it a day. That's
a banger of a list.
Of course.
How do you argue with that list? You can't.
Sal Point, stand up, baby.
Lancers.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Money. But yeah, I think that's what we'll roll with. That'll be the list for today. And then for the pros, I went D-Will, TJ, and T-Mac.
Very valid list. Shall we move on to our next diehard topic?
Last diehard topic, I believe.
I also believe as well. Talk about your guys' record prediction for football season from Russell Smith.
Kevin made a joke about shielding his eyes from this one and pretending like he was sick and couldn't come in today. I assume that means that Kevin's not going to be so positive when it comes to this discussion.
I'm just so scared of like trying to predict Arizona football right now.
Yeah.
I'm not like
I'm
you.
gonna
I'm not ready to be hurt again yet.
I'm gonna say some nasty things about Arizona football, and I want you guys all at home to know that right now because I am buying the hell back in for no reason.
Well, it was the media day. You know the reason.
Well, it was Seth Dagey.
Okay, yeah, true.
He changed my life. But pulling up this schedule, Kevin, I believe we do have it here. All the red games are the away games. All the blue games are the home games. So looking at this list, I will say off the jump, got to make you feel pretty good that first part of the schedule. You could really, really make yourself like in a pretty solid spot if you take care of business with all these home games. No,
yeah, you're right. I'm actually doing my mental math right now.
You got to
as I'm
start
looking
off the
at this.
season well. Like it's got to be like last season where we lost that Texas Tech game, which I think Arizona should have easily won. Basically, shot themselves in the foot every step of the way, and it cost them a 4-1 record to start the year in the first 5 games, which probably cost them a bowl game. I think you're looking at something somewhat similar here. Not exactly the same, but like if I'm doing I'll do my record prediction first, Kevin, and then I'll let you go. I'm just going to talk through each game off the dome. Hawaii, that's a W right off the bat. Maybe it's closer than we want it to be, but I think ultimately Arizona wins that football game. Weber State, another W. You start off 2-0. Kansas State at home. I think that you lose this one again, just like last year. Hopefully, it's not as embarrassing of fashion as last year, but I'm going 2-1 after that. Then you go on the road to Ames to play Iowa State. That's probably a blowout loss. We're probably looking at 2-2. Here's my most important game, maybe of the entire season, Kevin, in week 5 here. Or I shouldn't say week 5, but the 5th week of the season because there is a bye in between that. Oklahoma State, you got to win that game. Oklahoma State finishes last place in the conference last year. It's a home game. Arizona doesn't have the luxury of dropping games that they should win. And I think that if you want to make a bowl game, this has got to be an absolute W, no question about it. I'm at 3-2 after this October 4th, 5th game of the season versus Oklahoma State. Then I got us losing to BYU at home. You're looking at 3-3. I think Arizona beats Houston again. I do not think Connor Weigman is a good quarterback. I think they'll be better than they were last year with Willie Fritz because a lot of people are super high on him. So I'll just trust what the people that know more than me are saying. But I do like Arizona to win this one. 4-3. Colorado is damn interesting because what kind of team are they next year? You know, they lose a lot of their upper echelon talent. They have maybe a true freshman quarterback in Juju Lewis. Maybe Kaden Salter plays instead. I'll chalk it up as a loss just because it's on the road. But I do think that this one is one that Arizona could potentially win. 4-4 on the season now. In these next 2, I don't know if Arizona wins either one of them. Kansas and Cincinnati. Kansas being at home, Cincinnati being on the road. But I'm going to go with Arizona winning one of these games. I don't know which one it is. I'm going to say that they take home a win versus either one of these teams and lose versus the other, which puts them at 5-5 with Baylor and ASU on the schedule. And I think that Arizona, unfortunately, just talking this out, loses both of those games and finishes a game away from making a bowl game at 5-7.
That was a great breakdown, Damon. Shall I provide mine really fast? I won't have it up there for nearly as long. Because I honestly don't think I'm going to differ from you as much as I thought at first I might. Obviously, Hawaii, W, 1-0. Weber State, W, 2-0. K-State, probably an L, 2-1. Iowa State, probably an L, 2-2. OSU, that should be a W, 3-2. I think me and Damon are aligned on the first half of this schedule because I also have Arizona losing to BYU, going 3-3 there on the first half.
I would love to beat BYU in that game, man.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course you would. Well, honestly, with everything, like there are a lot of question marks now surrounding like the quarterback situation there. So maybe that game is more winnable than we're giving it credit for.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think that that's out of the question at home. I don't think Jake Retzloff is that good. I think BYU got a little bit lucky last year. I think that is winnable entirely. BYU won a lot of close games last year, just like ASU.
Very valid. But yeah, I'm also probably walking out of this one 3-3 on the left side, and then 4-3 after Houston. I think Arizona beats Colorado.
Love it.
I actually do. So I'm looking at 5-3 after
Wow.
8 games.
Momentum.
I know it sounds crazy.
Oh, it's going crazy in Tucson.
And then I think they do the most Arizona thing ever and then lose at home to KU before actually winning on the road in Cincinnati.
Wow.
Yeah,
Kevin's
I know.
going bowl game.
We're 6-4.
We're bowling.
6-4 right now.
Hell yeah.
And then they lose.
We can make a good bowl game.
They lose to Baylor. They lose to Baylor, and then they lose to Arizona State, unfortunately.
6-6 though, baby. I would take 6-6. What sucks is the fact that I'm gonna be hurt again, and I predicted 5-7, and Kevin's gonna be going into it being like, "You can't hurt me. I'm Teflon, baby," and he's the one that predicted 6-6. But like, even though I have it lower than Kevin, and I have it us devastatingly missing a bowl game by a single game, at the same time, like, it's just gonna take everything out of me emotionally.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna be like, cool, we made a bowl game, or damn, 5-7.
You know, like the expectations are just I don't have expectations.
Yeah, it's not the same as last year.
Yeah, like I
last year
don't
was
have low
devastating.
expectations. I don't got high expectations. They're gonna play, and I'm gonna have something to analyze and judge week 1, week through week 3, pretty much. After that K-State game, you're kind of gonna know what
True.
you got. And so yeah, I'm not gonna really judge Arizona. I know it's a boring thing to say here in June, but I'm not really gonna judge Arizona until after that K-State game goes final, because I don't really care what you do against Hawaii as long as they're not beating you or making it close. I don't care about what you do against Weber State unless it's the same parameters, but I do care about what you do against in conference opponents like a K-State. Is that game in conference this year?
No.
Again, it's out of conference.
Similar,
Okay,
yeah,
sweet. Okay.
non-conference game. It's our third non-conference game. It's unfortunate. Shout out to Anthony Moreno, who he says I would take 6-6 in a heartbeat. Anthony helped with the Wildcats, favorite Wildcats question.
That was
Anthony,
a fun one.
Why don't you drop your favorite Wildcats in the comments for us? We'd love to read them out on air. Anybody else in the chat as well. Shout out our guy Russell, who had prompted our question about the record prediction. Kevin, if you wouldn't mind bringing it up one more time, I just want to talk about real quick the actual schedule itself. I would like to talk about just which games I think are the most pivotal games to your conversation that we were having. I think obviously it's the first game of the season. I think you need to see something week 1 in terms of Arizona is clearly better than Hawaii, right? Like, it can't be a dogfight. It can't be New Mexico last year where you're like, oh my God, what is this defense doing? Or is New Mexico going to score on every single possession? It has to be a situation where Arizona looks like clearly the superior team to Hawaii, in my opinion. Then I go to the week 3 game versus Kansas State. Can you make that game interesting? Because I think that would go a long way in terms of showing this fan base that this is a competitive team. You don't even need to win that game, but how does the loss look, right? Like, can it be within a score? Because that would make me feel a lot more confident going into the rest of the season, Kevin, going into conference play.
Yeah.
And then I think that 5th game against Oklahoma State, as I already mentioned, is such a barometer for this team where they're at. Oklahoma State doesn't feel like a team that's going to be competing for the Big 12 title this year. It feels like at home you need to win that game if you're going to make a bowl game. Like, it's a must win. So I think in the first half of the schedule, those first 5 games in particular, we find out a ton about this team.
If I'm to look at the schedule and give my pivotal matchups for the first half, I don't think I have OSU as one of them, because I'm not sure that you learn anything by losing to or beating OSU that you don't learn when playing K-State, Iowa State, or BYU. I actually feel as though the K-State game and the BYU game are the 2 most pivotal ones on the first half of the schedule, because the K-State game is like we talked about. You're coming off of the cream puff, a couple of games that are supposed to be easy for you, and then this is your first real test, your first find your level kind of game. And then if you win that game, you're going on the road after 3 straight home games. That's a bit of a letdown spot classically. I don't think anyone would really think Arizona is absolutely done, season over, if they lose that game to Iowa State after, ideally beating K-State the week prior. And then you return home. You're supposed to handle business against OSU. But then if you were able to defeat BYU and K-State on the first half of this schedule.
Well, then you're 6-0. Or you're 5-1 probably.
Well, yes, true.
Iowa State.
Yeah, true. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think those are the 2 most swing your season kind of games on the first half of that schedule, in my opinion, because if you beat BYU, and not only from a pure record standpoint, Damon, but also from a understanding what you have with this roster standpoint. Like if your roster is able to go out there and put up good games against a BYU, a K-State, and at least make it competitive against an Iowa State, you're cooking with gas with a team that you didn't have any expectations for, and you were pretty much just trying to have a better year than the abysmal year that was last. So I would be incredibly optimistic if those two games resulted in victories.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%. I guess my expectations for the BYU game are just a little bit lower, whereas like I'm saying like Oklahoma State I think is a real barometer for the caliber of this team.
Yeah.
If they're better than Oklahoma State, I think that bodes well for their ability to make a bowl game. If they're worse than Oklahoma State, then I think that you're probably looking at getting a new coach next season.
That's a good point.
So that was really my only thought process there. I do agree with you that like those Kansas State and BYU games at home are like, if you could win those, that changes the complexion of the entire season, of the entire coaching staff, right? So I do think that those are entirely very pivotal. And then again, like you go into that Houston game as well at the end of in that start the second half of the season, Houston, Colorado, Kansas, Cincinnati. Like on paper, all four of those are teams you can beat.
1,000%.
Like none of those teams are juggernaut teams. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the Big 12 is that everybody somewhat has a chance to beat all these teams. But yeah, I mean, if you can win, if you can start your season off on the right foot, gain some momentum, and hopefully gain a little bit of fan support in Tucson, I think that could go a long way in terms of helping this team make a bowl game this season.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I was surprisingly more optimistic than I thought I would be with my record prediction. I assumed I'd be predicting them to not go bowling, but here I am predicting them to go bowling.
You're so ready to be here.
We switch roles. I don't know if I am. But we'll find out.
Wait until we're a month out.
Yeah, we'll find out once we start
season.
seeing like all the social posts from like Arizona football and like there's hype videos. Like Eric Duthie starts sending us stuff about hyping up the football team. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's when it's really gonna start to feel like, oh, we got games coming up.
By the way, this is impromptu, but my guy Steven Gonzalez, who is my buddy, who I met through working for the Arizona football program for 3 years, and he worked there for 10. He just recently announced that he is leaving as the creative director of Arizona football. He completely transformed the graphics and the video that they were doing and put us on a level where we actually have a respectable, if not one of the best creative departments in the country. And just wanted to say, shout out Steven. Guy's done a ton of great work for the football program, and not quite sure what he's doing next, but I'm sure it's going to be really, really cool stuff. So yeah, sad to see a staple of the program leave like that. But Anthony here says Mason White was his number one from the year, and then says Willie Tuitama was his favorite as a kid, which I don't think that's an odd pick, man. That was like Arizona football. To explain it to Kevin, hashtag explain it to Kevin. Arizona football was in a very dark place, similar to the post Sumlin years, where it was like, we're never going to be good again. And Mike Stoops came in and, was kind of the hot candidate on the market and chose this job even though Arizona had an awful program and the worst facilities in the country. And he started rebuilding this program similar to how Jed Fish did. And it started with getting Willie Tuitama, who was a pretty highly rated recruit and kind of had no business going to Arizona, and then was the quarterback at Arizona and brought Arizona to its first bowl win in a very, very long time against BYU in the Las Vegas Bowl. So I don't think that's an odd pick at all. I think that's a quarterback that kind of helped change the program to being from a disaster to being respectable, at least. So I like that pick. And yeah, I was a kid too during the Willie Tuitama days. So it was certainly a time as in my childhood that I remember very fondly. But I love those picks. If you guys have any other picks, your favorite Wildcats, professionally, on campus right now, even coaches, let us know in the comments. Drop it in the comments. We appreciate everybody for rocking with us on a Friday, for getting it through to this point, and for being diehards, especially if you're a diehard, helping us plan this show. It was a lot of fun. If you're not a diehard, become one. You get a free t-shirt when you sign up, free piece of merch that almost pays for itself. $35 value. It's half the value of the Die Hard membership. You also get access to our Discord, where you get to tell us to talk about things on the show like this. where we're trying to always do fun things to incorporate our diehards and make them feel very valued, Kevin. But Kevin's always he's starting to do some extra work, some extra writing and whatnot for our diehards. So it is well worth it to get that extra content as well. If you're a big Suns fan, Gerald Bourguet is constantly dropping articles and whatnot for diehard content that you can only get through that. And yeah, it's just it's always a great time to be a diehard, always a great time to support local business like ourselves and Arizona sports. It's the best way to start, just like if you need someone to talk about the game with, if you need to vent a little bit, like Kevin was saying, it is
don't go to Twitter.
It is the absolute best place to do it in that Discord. Donate to Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. We still have that going on all throughout the day. You don't even have to do it on this show, but although we would love it if you did it on this show, but please, anything you got, $1, $2, $5 goes a long way in terms of helping make a change in this country and doing it for the kids, right? How do you not want to get in on it doing it for the kids? But that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for rocking with us all week on the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am Damon Fairall. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. You can follow my guy Kevin Thomas at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. And you can follow our account at PHNX_Wildcats. We will be back on a Monday at 2 p.m. Keep it locked and loaded this weekend on our Twitter account. Maybe a couple chill dudes out there at Section 7 potentially getting a quick scout on some maybe future Arizona Stars. Who knows? But until then, we will catch you later. Peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats.
We all silly like the mayor.